Hi guys, thanks for joining me in another video today. My name's Ash, you will know me as Brommer18, and in this video I want to talk to you about my 3-4-3 Borussia Dortmund Career Mode tactics. Now, for any of you who haven't watched it so far and don't know what we're talking about here, we've actually got a Career Mode series currently ongoing on the channel. It is a realistic Borussia Dortmund Career Mode. And we are really enjoying it, a few episodes in, so make sure to go and check that out if you haven't done so already. I've already done a video covering the 3-4-1-2 tactics that we also do. We switch between these two formations, and that went down quite well. So I wanted to show you guys this sort of 3-4-3/3-4-2-1, whichever you prefer, it doesn't really matter, today. And also at the end of the video, I want to talk about which system I generally prefer to use and why as well. So make sure you do stick around for that. Just a quick notice before we do get into it, just wanted to let you guys know that we are starting some Football Manager 2022 content on my second channel, which is called Brommer Ball. So make sure to go and subscribe to that as well, as we'll be doing similar things like this, recreating real tactics, all sorts of different videos, series, etc. A lot of good features on there, so check that one out as well. And on that note, let me talk to you about this tactic. So obviously, compared to the 3-4-1-2, you've got more midfield options here. Rather than the two forwards, we've only got the one, and we've got these two in attacking midfield. Now naturally, of course, it is sort of inspired by Marco Ros's tactics, but there's also an element of Thomas Tuchel as well. His 3-4-2-1 Chelsea tactics, which we have already covered on the channel as well. There's a little bit of element in that. Generally, it's just really inspired by that German coaching, that counter pressing, that sort of zonal marking system. It's it's just really fun to play with, I have to say. So first things first, we have it on 3-5-2, and then what I had to do was actually move one of the strikers down to cams. Remember, these are actually at left attacking midfield and right attacking midfield, so do just bear that one in mind. We've got Bellingham here as a central midfielder, a left central midfielder, and then Dahoud is a right defensive midfielder. And the reason why we do that is because we want Bellingham getting just up the pitch a little bit more. He's a very good box-to-box midfielder. He has scored a few goals for us in this career mode already because of that role. We want to get him into the game more. It's very much about that all-rounded central midfielder. Whereas with Dahoud, obviously he plays that more, a mixture of that aggressive defensive midfielder, which was really the case when we had either Witsel or Emre Can at defensive midfield. There he is. But with Dahoud, we also get a little bit more of an element of a deep-lying playmaker as well, which is also really handy. But he's very good defensively. 76 defensive awareness is not to be sniffed at. It is in the green. So that's also really handy. You've got a nice all-rounded sort of defensive midfielder. I guess a regista would be what they call it in Football Manager terms. And obviously we've also got the wing backs at right mid and left mid as well. This enables you, to really get them a little bit further up the field, and also just running behind a little bit more as well. We'll talk about that more when we come on to their player instructions. So what the difference is with this tactic compared to the other one, and I guess we can really move into tactics now and talk about that a little bit more, is you've got one that's slightly more possessionally orientated. With the other one, it's more effective on the counter attack because you've got two strikers and they're both running behind, whereas this time it's more effective in build-up play because you've got those two attacking midfielders. So let's talk about the tactics a little bit now. So first things first, defensively, press after possession loss. That's the same for both systems, more about counter pressing. When we do want to press at our own accord, sometimes what I'll do is I'll use down and then left on the D-pad, and that will instigate a team press for a few seconds. So should the opposition maybe passing it around, your team's starting to move up a little bit, you're noting that there is an opportunity to press and win the ball, that will enable you to do that. With the defensive width, it's up 18. Get them nice and compact, but the reason why we have this a little bit higher, because for other systems I've gone for like 10 and below 10, is because you've got three centre backs, so naturally they're already going to be a little bit more crammed together compared to if you had two. So this again enables you just to get out a little bit more, give you a little bit of leniency, but generally you want to make sure that they're narrow, compact, stop the opposition playing through you. With depth, it's actually up to 90. This time again playing into a couple of things. One, helping with that counter press, and two, though, the fact that it's more possessionally orientated as well. It's going to mean that it's going to enable you to retain possession a bit easier compared to if you were down to a mid block. Also worth bearing in mind that the centre backs generally very, very fast. And this is something I wanted to talk to you about. So let me just talk to you about that now that we're talking about the defensive line. You know, the centre-backs that we have on the side is very much like Emre Can, Bella Kotchap. We also have Namdi Collins in there. You know, these guys are fast centre-backs. And so you need that. In this system, you really do need your two side centre-backs, right and left-sided centre-back, to be to have pace. Now, we do have Hummels in the middle, so you can get away with it there. We like that leader. We like that spearhead. He deals with any crosses as well because he's in that central areas. But anyone who watched episode 6 of the career mode will know we did actually make a change for this because we were playing against PSG. And actually, they've got that front three. Kylian Mbappe was down the middle. We couldn't have that centre-back isolated against Kylian Mbappe. So at that point, we did switch to Collins. But generally, you will get away with having a slow one. But just make sure that these two-sided centre-backs do have a bit of pace because they're going to be isolated against wingers, particularly when they're playing 4-3-3 systems quite a lot. So just want to bear in mind there. Moving on to the offensive side of the ball now. Our build-up play is on slow build-up, but our chance creation is on forward runs. So it enables us to play out from the back. When there's goal kicks, for example, players will come short, show for the ball. That's very good. And then forward runs is really designed in this case to be for the attacking midfielders. Now we'll talk about their instructions very shortly, but what we want is sort of what we spoke about earlier with Tuchel's system. When you've got Mount and Havertz, for example, a lot of movement from them. They'll come into the channels, they'll come in behind, they'll do all sorts. That's what we're trying to get with forward runs. We're also looking to get Haaland running behind as well, or Marlon, whoever's up front, and also the two wing backs. We'll talk more about them on their individual instructions. Now, with the width, this is up to, or I should say, balanced at 50. So the reason why is that I tinkered around with this a lot with this system, and why we eventually settled on 50 was because we were trying to get the attacking midfielders who are on free roam. We want to get them into the channels sometimes, a bit of variation between them. We want them just showing for the ball as much as possible, so we had to make it a little bit wider. But we don't want this too wide, say into 80 plus, because then it affects our ability to be that real possessionally orientated system. You're going to find the central players really too stretched, and the centre backs as well, and it's going to prevent you from being able to play that quick possession-based system, particularly when playing out from the back. So with the width on 50, it enabled us to get those attacking midfielders out a little bit wider. Players in the box, this is up to 8, so you've got the front 3, and you may also have either Bellingham or one of the fullbacks as well. Bear in mind that it will be one of the fullbacks who are crossing it in, or wingbacks I should say, who are crossing the ball in originally. But this has again been very, very effective for us. You've seen us score a fair few goals because of this, because we've got players storming into the box. Very, very important that you have that sort of active-minded mentality when getting into those situations. Finally, with corners and free kicks, this is up to 4. Most of you guys will have already seen my tactics videos many times, so you'll know why we do this. I don't need to explain that one too much. Right then, let's talk about the player instructions. So with Kerbal, who, I have to say, has had an inspired campaign so far. You know, we talked about trying to get a goalkeeper, a young goalkeeper with high upside like Van der Voort. But we're probably not going to now, because Kerbal has just been absolutely immense. Absolutely immense. He's really just kept us in games. So he's been really, really good. We've got him on sweeper keeper because of that high line. We need to make sure we have that extra layer of protection. And also comes to crosses as well. With the AI finally crossing the ball in a little bit more this year, it means that you do need to deal with that a little bit easier. And when he comes to crosses, there are a little bit protected keepers on this game. And also just have that advantage of obviously being able to use their hands. So he'll give you a little bit of protection there. Now with the 3 centre-backs, with the 2 left and right-sided centre-backs, you don't need to change anything. They're absolutely fine, other than interceptions. We want them both on aggressive interceptions. The reason why is because on this game, at least up until recording this, before any updates, you'll have noticed that the defensive line is gets quite deep, particularly in your own half. When the opposition come into the attacking third, the defensive line really sort of drop off. You want aggressive interceptions to try and get them to push up a little bit more. Plus, it plays into that counter-pressing style as well. We want our centre-backs trying to set traps and pounce on the opposition. We want them trying to win it back aggressively. The fact that these two on the side, at least, have that physical upside, have pace, they're very, very physical, it allows you to play into that, because should they sort of mistime a challenge and step up, and then it gets they get punished for it, they have the pace to be able to recover that. So same with Hummels, except with defensive position he's on step up, and we have license to do that because we've got 3 centre backs. He can mark an opposition striker, he's a bit slower, and the pacey centre backs behind him, Chan and Bella in this case, will cover for him, and they enable you to really, replicate this role. The reason why we have him on step up is again to play into this whole counter pressing, winning it aggressively, winning it quickly, regaining it quickly, to play into that. And because the reason why we don't have all 3 on step up is because naturally the opposition are always going to have at least 1 striker up front, whereas they might not have 3. So if we've got Pelakachap and Chan on step up as well, then you're going to find them marking attacking midfielders and wingers, all sorts. They'll be all over the place, and it will just be an absolute carnage. Plus it allows them to cover for Hummel should he step up and then get punished for it. So moving on to the wing-backs, I guess, next. They're both on comeback on defence to replicate that wing-back role. Chance creation, they're on stay wide, so that we've got them creating the width. They'll get pretty much on the touchline. They give you that out ball. Also, switches on this game have been very effective. Really nicely well done. So that allows it to be even more of an option for us going forward. Support runs is unbalanced. Now, we've alluded to this earlier. Sometimes we want them coming short and showing for the ball. This is what's going to help you play out from the back. But then when you get into the attacking third, what's really handy is getting the likes of Aronson and Guerrero running in behind. It's been so handy to have them doing that. But in particular, Max Aarons, since he's signed, he's created a few goals, and that has been through him, running in behind. And part of that is also getting players into the box for crosses as well, which we spoke about, where we have that up to 8. And also part of it is the balanced support. So that's a very, very important aspect. And finally, with support on crosses, getting to the box for the cross. So moving on to the central midfielders next. First off, we have Dahoud in his defensive midfielder position. His defensive behaviour is cut passing lanes, playing into that Marco also, and very much that German coaching mentality of that zonal marking. So it's very, very good. Plus also man marking doesn't really work on this game. And then attacking support, stay back while attacking. As we've already spoken about, he plays that hybrid role of a deep line playmaker and also an aggressive ball-winning central midfielder, that defensive-minded midfielder. So make sure we don't want him contributing to the attack. He's very much going to hold the fort, I guess, to speak, and screen the back 3 as well. And then with defensive position, this is on cover centre. The reason why we don't want him being dragged out wide is because we want you to manually do that. Otherwise, we want them into the centre, because it's been very easily exploited by the opposition AI in this game, is for them to be able to play balls into the centre, and there's a lot of space for them. Obviously, you want to try and counter that by limiting the amount of space and getting these guys into the centre. You will only manually bring him out wide if you need to. With Bellingham, on the other hand, obviously slightly different roles as that left central midfielder. Everything in this case is on balance. Balanced attack, balanced crossing, runs, very much, again, playing a hybrid role in between a box-to-box midfielder, getting into the box, but also just sort of circling on the perimeter of the area and on the box, allowing to play the role of that pivot. Possession can rest on him if the opposition are able to clear balls, or we need to recycle high up the pitch. He enables you to do that. Very all-rounded, and so just really superb. With positioning freedom, he's on free roam, and this is really good because it gets him into a whole range of different positions. Again, we can utilise him as much as possible. You've got a lot of movement coming from these central players. We'll talk about the attack midfielders shortly as well. And positioning freedom on free roam, again, it allows you to do that. You've got a lot of runs, you've got a lot of possessional based options. Also plays a part as that deep line playmaker, in the sense of when you've got it as your back 3, you've got the ball and you're looking to play it from the back, he'll show for the ball as well a lot. He'll try and create movement, get himself into space. So that's really handy. It allows you to do that. Finally, with defensive position, also on cover centre for the same reason that we spoke about it with Dahoud. So next, let's move on to the attacking midfielders. Both of these are on the same roles. So we got them on comeback on defence, make sure they're tracking back. Also, it's worth bearing in mind that compared to the other tactic, it's also a little bit more defensive minded as well, because of the fact that you've got both of these tracking back. Whereas in the other system, naturally, you've got 2 strikers who are staying forward. So in this case, you've got a little bit more protection. Support on crosses, we want both of these getting into the box, as we've already alluded to. And then positioning freedom, this is on free roam, and it is the case for both of them. So we spoke about it with Bellingham, how we're going to have a lot of movement, and it's the case here. It gives you so much options going forward. You really want just getting into as much space as possible, as much movement as possible, allowing you to just really have a lot of variation in your attacks. It's also important to just get the best out of their role. You want them getting into the channels, you want them dropping off, you want them moving around. You just want to get them into the game as much as possible. These are your biggest creative outlets. So with them on free roam, you get that best opportunity. Over the fact that you've also got them getting into the box, you've got forward runs on the tactics screen. It will also mean that they're not going to be dropping off all the time. And therefore sometimes they're going to be running into the channels, providing support for the wing backs. Just that all-in-all mismatch option. It's an absolute nightmare for the opposition to really mark these guys. They have to go zonal because they're going man marking. You know, you're just going to be getting people running all over the place. Finally then, with Haaland, the front man, we have him on stay central. We don't need him being dragged out wide because we've got the two attacking midfielders and we've got the wing backs as well. And in attacking runs, we've got him on getting behind naturally, penetrating the opposition defence, utilising his pace. Worth bearing in mind that on this career mode now, his sprint speed has now increased to 99. Pretty crazy, pretty mad as well when you've got someone who is, what, 6'4". So that is all in all also something worth bearing in mind. And if defensive support is on stay forward, he's going to be that outlet. You're going to be able to play up to him. He's going to hold it up and enable all of your players, you know, to get in around him, and he can play off them and they can go from there. Right then, that's it for the tactic. Just want to quickly speak to you about the two systems overall and which one I prefer. Now, I actually, all in all, generally prefer to use the other system, the 3-4-1-2 system. And the reason because of this is that I find it more deadly on the counter-attack, which it is because you've got two strikers running in behind, and that's still very much easily exploitable on this game. Now, also, it's worth bearing in mind that should you need to control possession more, control the ball more, and you want to do that, then this system is also very, very good. Now, the reason why I do use this system a lot in this career mode is also the fact that we only have two strikers at the club, Haaland and Marlon. Well, we've got Bergman as well, our youth academy graduate, but he's only really just promoted and he's only 59 rated at the moment. You know, when I want to rotate, obviously in the other system, I can't bring in two strikers because I don't have two strikers to bring in. Whereas in this system, we've got a lot of attacking midfielders at the club. We've got the likes of Royce, we've got Reina, we've got Hazard, Bellingham could also play there. We did have Julian Brandt as well up until we sold him in the January transfer window. So we've got a lot of options in there. So this enables me to get a good level of rotation as well. But it is still fun to play with. It is still very good. Easier to control possession, which if that's sort of the area that you want to go for and that's the way you want to play, it's also fun to do that. So that's worth bearing in mind as well. But I would say overall, I do prefer using this 3-4-1-2 system. I should also say you'd have to forgive me, some of the players are tired here because we have just recently played a game. So that's also worth bearing in mind. So on that note then guys, it is time to round it off there. If you have enjoyed the video, please drop a like, let me know you're enjoying it, and ring the bell so that you get notifications every time I upload. Don't forget to check out Aniba. The links to their stuff are in the description. Use the code BROMA18 to get a 3% discount on your purchases. And check out my second channel, Brahma Ball, where we're going to be covering Football Manager 2022. And by the time this video comes out, maybe, just maybe, there might already be a Football Manager video on that channel out already. So go and check that one out, and I will really appreciate it. Make sure to check out the Dortmund Career Mode series if you haven't done so already. Check out all the links in the description, such as my link to Twitter. Give me a follow on there. And also links to all of the gear that I use, my PC parts. They are affiliate links, so I do get a little kickback. It is a great way to support the channel. On that note, we're going to finish it off there. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I will see you soon.